Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you at the webinar of Lietuvos Energijos Gamyba. My name is Valentas Nevėra, and I thank you for joining us at the webinar to hear a little bit more about the performance and results of Lietuvos Energijos Gamyba in January-March 2007. Today we are hosted by Eglė Čiužaitė, the Chairwoman of the Board and CEO of the company. Before we proceed with the presentation, I will shortly introduce you with the agenda. Firstly, Ms. Čiužaitė will comment financial results of Lietuvos Energijos Gamyba for January-March 2017 and inform you about current events in the company. Right after the presentation, we will open the floor for your questions. I invite you to use the question box on the right side of the screen to send in questions. Of course, all questions will be addressed after the presentation and all questions will be answered. So, Ms. Čiužaitė, I invite you to start the presentation.
Good afternoon, dear investors and other participants. Thank you for joining us in the first webinar of Lietuvos Energijos Gamyba. It's my big pleasure today to use this opportunity to present the transformation of our company that is undergoing and explain the key factors that influenced our operational and our financial results in the first quarter of 2017. I'll start with a brief overview of what our key activities are. Lithuanian energy generation is our main business, and our company also provides system services that are necessary for the security of energy system. We operate 3 power plants. A thermal power plant in Elektrėnai, which consists of a modern combined cycled unit or Unit 9 and 2 older units, Unit 7 and Unit 8. We also operate Gowanus pumped storage hydropower plant and a hydropower plant in Gowanus. In more detail, Elektrėnai complex is the provider of the following services: regulated electricity generation, strategic reserve, tertiary reserve, and heat generation. Commercial generation of electricity is done by Gowanus and Gowanus power plants, and also both hydro power plants are important in the energy system for the system services. One particularly unique service provided by Gowanus is the secondary reserve or the fast response reserve. I'll go into the details on the performance of each power plant in the first quarter of 2017 later. And now let me shortly overview a couple of investor-related figures. Our share capital amounts to 184 million euro, while our market capitalization as of 31st of March 2017 was 405 million euro. Our largest shareholder is parent company Lietuvos Energija, which has 96.75% of the shares, and we also have over 5,900 shareholders whom we really appreciate. Moving to the next slide. LEG, that's the short abbreviation of our company's name. It's an important part in the value chain of Lietuvos Energija Group, belonging to the generation block, which starts the whole value chain. Company is operated by 404 employees, with 85% working in generation, that is in operational and technical maintenance functions, and 15% in the support functions. Majority of employees, or 218, are experts and specialists. 145 are workers, and we have 40 unit and department managers. Well, the ratio of male-female employees is almost 6:1. LEG has a modern 2-tier corporate governance structure, a supervisory board of 3 members, 2 from the parent company and 1 independent member, and we have a working management board comprising of 4 members today. I'll talk about the recent news concerning the changes of our management board a little bit later. Moving to the next topic, I would like to highlight 6 key events that happened in the first quarter of 2017. The first is related to the test of our services reliability. At the very beginning of the year, on one of the coldest days of this winter, we activated unit number 7 to prove that we can reliably provide tertiary reserve service with an alternative fuel, heavy fuel oil, instead of gas. The second event is related to the start of our big decommissioning project in order to reduce the operational costs of Elektrėnai complex. At the end of January, on the 25th of January, we started the decommissioning of units 5 and 6 to be finished by 2020. The third event, the 1st of March, marks the start of our new organizational structure, when we merged similar technical maintenance functions across all power plants to prepare ourselves to provide new services in the market. The fourth event, which happened on the 8th of March, is the date when we, for the first time, were contracted and went to provide technical maintenance services to the external clients. Then, on the 24th of March, we had good news for our investors. The announcement on the dividends for the second half of the 2016 was made to pay out 12.5 million euro or 2 euro cents per share. And finally, on 31st of March, the decommissioning project of units 1 and 2 was finished as planned after 2 years of active works. So as of today, 4 units in total, units 1 to 4 in Elektrėnai complex, are fully decommissioned, and units 5 and 6 are under decommissioning. Now, let's move to the next slide, to the market developments and changes. After the introduction of Nordbalt and Litpoliink, very significant changes in the electricity market occurred, and LEG now faces more fierce competition in the electricity market. Now I'll go a little bit into the graphs that are shown on the slide. So looking at the trade balance in Lithuania, in the first quarter of 2017, 78% of electricity was imported, and import share increased by 1 percentage point from 2016. Almost 2/3 of the whole imports were from EU countries in the first quarter of this year. Another important change that happened in Lithuania is that the wind generation increased by 33% quarterly year-over-year. Concerning the prices, average price in Lithuanian price zone decreased by 7% from the first quarter of 2016 to the first quarter of 2017 and amounted to about 34 euros per megawatt hour. Another important factor that happened in the market is the peak-off-peak price ratio diminishing rather significantly. That is by 24% from the first quarter of 2016 to the first quarter of 2017. The third graph shows the intraday trading, which became more active due to the Nordbalt in operation, with a 34% increase in the buy orders and 41% increase in the sales orders. And Lithuanian traders were actually the most active in the intraday market as compared to Latvians and Estonians. So these all changes created both opportunities and threats for us, and with more opportunities in the intraday market, we focus even more to have our power plants available to the market for the maximum amount of hours and try to reduce the unplanned outages to the shortest possible periods. Now, the next slide shows the change in prices of production materials and emission costs. The average quarterly gas price was down by 12% and biomass price down by 20% year-over-year, which enabled us to produce and sell energy at a more competitive price and also reduce our internal operational costs. However, continuously decreasing CO2 emission allowances prices have a negative effect on our net profit due to the mark-to-market position of all our allowances assets. And the negative effect for the first quarter of 2016 was almost 6 million euro, while for the first quarter of 2017, over approximately 4 million euro. Moving to the market, from the market trends to our performance, the effect on our operations is actually rather predictable and consistent. Total quarterly amount of the generated electricity decreased by 21% from 305 gigawatt hours to 242 gigawatt hours year over year. And the key reason for this decrease is significantly lower generated amount in Elektrėnai complex due to the lower average market prices and therefore fewer opportunities for competitive generation in Elektrėnai. Combined cycled unit was started only once in the first quarter of 2017, while to compare it was started 9 times in 1 year before. In addition, due to the more stable Interlinks performance and lower peak-off-peak price ratio, Kruonis power plant also generated less electricity in the first quarter of 2017, 32% less. While the good news was for Kaunas hydro power plant, due to the early flood this spring, the quarterly generated amount increased by 12% and also had a very positive effect on our EBITDA. Now, how does the pie chart of our quarterly revenue and operational costs look like? These charts are rather complicated, but I will try to explain them to you in more detail. So first, let's look at the revenue chart. Total revenue for the first quarter of 2017 was 32.1 million euro, which is 40% lower than for the first quarter of 2016, 53 million euro. And the two key reasons for that was the lower generation amounts and one-off revenue stream in the first quarter of 2016, which was the sale of trade business at the beginning of 2016 with a recorded result of about approximately 20 million euro. Looking solely at the sales revenue, the decrease is much smaller, by 5% year over year from 33.5 million to 32 million euro. Now, just let's have a closer look at the chart. The outer circle of the chart represents the breakdown of the total revenue streams in the first quarter of 2017, while the inner circle is for the first quarter of 2016. Commercial sales or electricity sales revenue comprises the largest share of the revenue, which is lower by 33% and amounted to 11 million euro in the last year, while it amounts to 16 million euro this year. Going down clockwise, there is a small share of heat sales revenue which stayed at a similar level, but it does not comprise a significant share in our revenue breakdown. Moving down, regulated quarterly sales are comprised as follows. Reserves revenue is the second largest category, which was a little bit lower in the first quarter of 2017, going from 11 million euro to 10 million euro, and subsidized strategic reserve increased a little bit from 4 million to 8 million euro year over year. Overall, the regulated quarterly sales in the first quarter of 2016 were influenced by a one-off reduction of 5.8 million euro due to regulation of our commercial activities, which was later in 2016 proven a wrong practice, kind of put on us by the regulator. And as I also mentioned a little bit before, the chart of revenue of the first quarter of 2016 also comprises a significant one-off sales transaction of our trade business of 20 million. Okay, so that's a little bit about our revenue streams, and now let's move to the other chart concerning the costs. Actually, we were able to control variable costs effectively. in line with the lower generated amounts, and therefore total costs were down by 22% in the first quarter of 2017 and amounted to 27 million euro. If we analyze the cost breakdown, again, the outer circle represents the breakdown for the first quarter of 2016, while the inner circle represents the breakdown for the first quarter of 2016. Electricity sales were 15% lower in 2017, which is in line with the lower Gowanus generation. And the second, the green category, or the material purchases, were down by even more, by 40%, and amounted to 7.7 million euro in the first quarter of 2017, which is also in line with the lower generation in Elektrėnai complex and lower internal operational costs. The third largest category, or the orange area, is depreciation, and it remained at the similar level both years of 5 million euro. And other cost categories such as salaries, maintenance costs and similar were also optimized accordingly. These cost optimization efforts were also affected our EBITDA margins, and I show quite a complicated slide here, but I would like you to look at the normalized figures because we also had some one-off effects in both quarters, which I would like to highlight here. And if we normalize the EBITDA and add back the one-off regulator's decision effect of 5.8 million euros to the first quarter of 2016 result, the EBITDA margin actually improved by 6.5 percentage points to 45.2 from 38.8% margin, while the absolute EBITDA amount would have remained at the similar level even despite the decrease of the sales revenue. If we compare now the net profit levels, there were also some one-off effects. And if we eliminate one-off effects, which are the one-off regulator's decision for the first quarter of 2016 and one-off trading activity in the first quarter of 2016, and we also eliminate the CO2 allowances price effects, the net profit for both periods would also be at a similar level, and accordingly the net profit margins would have increased. So in our core operations we actually have improved profitability. Now I would like to move to the final part of my presentation, which is related to the current and long-term future insights for our company. So first, concerning the long term, there are 4 areas that we focus on now, and the first area is continuous efficiency and operational excellence of our core activities. We want to be more competitive and to decrease regulated cost base, and we have a target in our 2020 strategy to be at least 15% more effective and efficient as compared to 2016. The second very important topic for us is asset optimization and decommissioning projects in Elektrėnai complex in order to save operational costs and to make the territory available for the future businesses and external clients. Our third focus is the new services with the external clients started in March 2017, and we want to increase the revenue from the new clients by 15% by 2020. And the fourth aspect is the investment projects, especially related to the new generation capacities. I'll stop here a little bit to discuss on wind and Gowanus Unit 5. We just announced the good news that the environmentalists had a consent for our wind project, and now we wait for the national energy strategy concerning the wind project support schemes. And concerning the Gowanus Unit 5, we are currently finalizing the upgraded business case analysis and analyze the market and system development signals and effects, and we discuss them with the transmission system operator to better understand the system needs after the synchronization project takes place. And very soon we want to have an open discussion with the public concerning the future of the development of Unit 5. Concerning the things to follow about us in the second and third quarter of 2017 that are very important to us and I hope interesting to you, I would emphasize 5 things. First, the reserve situation for 2018. The investigations are currently undertaken by different authorities, how the process of the reserve should proceed next year. And we still have no news regarding any changes for 2017 related to the tertiary reserve auctions. And we see that the regulation currently lags behind the market needs. And we have no news concerning the demand of strategic reserve for 2018. So we believe these questions should move forward in the second and third quarter of 2018. Secondly, as already mentioned, we foresee that we start an open discussion on Gowanus Unit 5 future in the summer of this year. Then there is an Alstom case. A week ago it was publicly released in the media that the company should receive a compensation, which according to the media was paid to the Lithuanian government by French concern Alstom under the order of British court. Up to today, we have not received any official information or payments related to the matter. And we will act transparently in accordance with the law when it all becomes, if it all becomes official. The fourth topic under review is the legal processes related to the regulator's actions, which are taking place since 2014-2015 and are still underway. And the last important topic is the latest announcement as of this morning, the resignation notice of one of our board members, Mindaugas Gražys, as of June 9, 2017, to pursue other challenges. So now the selection process of the new board member until the current board's term of the office, which is 17th of September, will take place. And I definitely wish all the best in the future challenges to Mindaugas Gražys. Finally, a couple of good news for the investors. There is more competitive generation in spring, and due to the weather conditions and because of the more opportunities in the market. And as of the end of May, we will, with the release of the April results, we will publish monthly financial results and comments regarding the financial performance of our company and announce them to all of you. With this note, I finish my presentation today. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And now let's move to the question-answer session.
Ms. Čiužaitė, thank you for the presentation. Now let's proceed with the questions in the order they were received. Before that, I would like to remind you that you can send all your questions in the section on the right side of the screen. We are here to answer all of the questions. And let's start with the first question, which was received in advance. And it is the following. I will read the question. And the question is, what were the main drivers of a lower generation in Gowanus in Q1 of 2017? Could you please indicate an effect of a lower generation in Gowanus to company's EBITDA in Q1 in 2017 compared to 2016?
Thank you very much for the first question. And the reasons of the lower generation in Gowanus were actually the market trends of which I mentioned a little bit in my presentation. The peak-off-peak price ratio decreased quite significantly as compared year over year. And also the work of the interlink Nord-Balt has been much more stable this year. The negative effect on EBITDA related to Gowanus activity, less Gowanus activity is approximately 2 million euro for the first quarter of 2017.
Thank you, Eglė. We're waiting for your next questions. We have some time, so please feel free to ask your questions. Here's one more question, and it's related to recent news. And the question is, how about the recent cyber attacks? Have you been affected?
Thank you for the question. I can guarantee that we have not been affected from the recent cyber attacks, and our ITT service provider this morning emphasized and explained this to us. Overall, cybersecurity is a very important topic for us, and we have risk mitigation plans for both technological and administrative IT networks, and we develop even additional means to improve and to decrease the risk of cybersecurity for our power plants.
So we will wait several more minutes for your questions. Feel free to ask them in the box on the right of your screen. Okay, thank you for the questions. Thank you for your interest in Lietuvos Energijos Gamyba. And today we will finish, and the record of the presentation will be available in the Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel webinar playlist. Also, you will find it in our webpage gamyba.le.lt. Ms. Čiužaitė, thank you for the presentation and for the answers given. Participants, thank you for your joining. Hope to meet you soon in other events. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We will answer them anytime. And have a nice evening today.